Hello everyone, and welcome to this next video discussion in the RICS Tech Partner Program. My name is Andrew Knight and I work within the directorate in RICS that looks at standards, regulation and thought leadership. And my role is to look at the whole effect of data and technology right across the built and natural environment. RICS has 130,000 members worldwide, working right across the property life cycle, working in land, rural, residential, commercial real estate, infrastructure. So a really, really broad set of practice areas. So clearly data and technology has a huge impact in terms of the opportunities and perhaps sometimes some of the risks we need to manage as well. So I'm delighted to have Andrew from ARES Prism with us this afternoon. So Andrew, please do join me.
Good afternoon, Andrew.
Welcome, Andrew. Good afternoon to you. The first question I always pose, and it's nice to kind of bring out the human aspect of data and technology, is before you tell us a bit more about ARES Prism themselves, is a bit of your backstory in terms of your sort of heritage and background in the sector, Andrew.
Yeah, sure. I was one of the lucky people to have a real apprenticeship, a 4-year apprenticeship. So I left school at 16 and did a mechanical engineering manufacturing apprenticeship, actually. Normal ONC, HNC, City and Guilds, all the qualifications. And then I got interested in software because just as I was coming to the end of my time as an apprentice, we started getting some computer controlled machines in, and I started getting interested in that. And then I went to the dark side and got interested in software and mathematics, and I did an open university degree in software and maths. And then I met some interesting people and I ended up studying software for ARES. So it's a bit of a long trial, but yeah, no, I started off as a mechanical engineer. So I'm a mechanical engineer by training, but I'm an estimator or QS, whatever you want to call us.
Yeah.
A project controls person by vocation, really. It's something I will get on the soapbox and talk about whenever people want me to. So yeah, that's my background anyway.
Good to hear. Thanks, Andrew. So from the perspective in terms of what ARES Prism is doing, and clearly there's quite a broad scope there in terms of what it's doing around estimating, project controls, project management, the general surveyor community. Can you bring alive the kind of value that ARES Prism is bringing to the market?
Yeah, we have a team of very highly experienced practitioners that have come through projects, come through the QS route, or come through, like myself, through estimating. And we work across the whole of the built and natural environment, same as RICS do, but also into manufacturing and defense and nuclear. Working with the complete stakeholders, so the Prism construct, the Prism solution set does everything from simple cost management through to more complex management of earned value and the KPIs around there, but also into commercial, into estimation, into the things that happen at site to get the actual asset built, and then obviously hand over and hand off and that kind of stuff. So it's a very modular solution. Very few companies take everything, but there's something for everybody. And then we'll deliver not just the solution, so we don't just turn up, give you the software, a bit of training, and off we go. We do the whole thought leadership thing from very at the C level, so at the level of the board, right down to the people who are having to book materials in and do the daily routine of getting a construction project finished. We'll provide support and leadership and mentoring. The nice thing about Prism is it gives you one place to look at everything. Okay, it's not a finance system that deals with the hardcore finance of a business. It's a project-based system that looks at the delivery of capital assets and the maintenance of capital assets. And so it becomes a common, and this is a very thing you've probably heard a lot of in the recent months and years, but it truly is a common data environment for the traditional measures, such as cost and hours and quants, but also the new environmental measures like carbon and water usage and social benefit. I mean, we're starting to understand how to monetize social benefit and how to understand that everything we build, everything we deliver has an impact, not just on the utility of that asset, but on the society that utilizes that asset or sees that asset. So yeah, we do the traditional stuff. We do all the stuff you'd expect.
Yeah.
but also that we're moving very, very quickly and investing a lot of energy, a lot of leadership and into how do we measure the new measures that we need to give. That we've got to hit carbon 2030.
Mm.
We're already ready for that, but we've also got to go beyond that and look at the social benefits and all the other things that are becoming much more important to us.
So are you seeing a sort of shift in thinking from your client customers, whoever they are, in terms of the different variations that you're serving, in terms of their views of the importance of cost management at project level and project control? Is there a shift in thinking about the importance of those things?
Absolutely, yes, yeah, absolutely. That the most important messaging that I'm seeing now at the board level is they're beginning to believe their own truth, that if you can measure it, you can improve it. The complexity of our delivery organization sometimes can hide or delay the understanding of what that looks like, so what that control is. Now, we've got many more organized client organizations running very thin client organizations, depending on the delivery partners and the technical partners to let them understand what that asset looks like. What I find people are looking for, and not just project cost management, carbon as well now, is that if you've got one place where you can see all these key measures like earned value and CPI and SPI, and the new measures we're looking at, earned carbon, for instance. A year ago, no one's ever heard of earned carbon.
Yeah.
ARES were the first people to talk about earned carbon. But it's not just finance. A lot of the client organizations now understanding their finance system runs their business, but Prism, cost management, runs their projects. The two are linked. The two are linked together very tightly. But we need a different drumbeat from finance. We need a different way of looking at what's happening in projects than finance do. It's really about getting the structures in such a way that they can see. And the nice thing is, we can go forward and we can start using geodata to locate cost around the asset. If you've got a long linear asset like HS2, we can start to look at the asset costs at each different point on that linear asset. So we are seeing it becoming more and more important. It's not just cost management, it's the cost, carbon, everything else in one space, in one shared environment becomes important. Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, you mentioned yourself that people, some of your customers are treating your sort of suite of products a bit a la carte in terms of taking different elements from it. And clearly, if you look at the market as a whole, there's a huge bunch of technology out there. How are you seeing organizations kind of deal with almost too much choice, and also that integration point that you clearly make, because that common data environment is clearly perhaps it's wrong to call it utopian, but it's where we want to be. We want these data sets to be connected, hopefully dynamically, in such a way that you can see all the data you need. So how are people dealing with this sort of almost embarrassment of riches of tools out there, some of which they've probably got already internally installed, and they're looking to get best of breed things from people like yourselves?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said at the end there, Andrew. It's exactly your last point. So we deliberately wrote Prism to be modular, deliberately, because we can't be the best at everything. So if you have something that's in the space already, in your IT space already, that does what you want, the way you want to do it, but we need the data from there, we will make sure, from our point of view, we'll make sure we can get that data, reformat it, orchestrate the transformation of it and load it into Prism. And we call that Prism Integrator. But that integration platform allows you, the client, to pick best athlete. So rather than having to go to one of the big monolithic softwares that can do everything, we believe these days that the client should choose the best solution for a point solution, and then have an enterprise data bus that collects that data and focus it together so that it's federated around the other packages that need it. And then I get the question often, well, if I've got the same data in two systems, surely that's a waste. Well, actually, if you don't have at least some point of contact between the two systems, you can't integrate. So, as long as you're not able to rekey it, as long as you're not able to put it in again, best athlete. So I agree. No, I think you're absolutely right. So it's all about choice. don't be scared to push back on our software houses to make sure that choice happens.
And in terms of, I mean, I suppose one of the downsides of the built and natural environment is that the old joke about the great thing about standards is you've got so many to choose from. You're clearly having to align with a number of different, whether they're cost standards around the world. How do you work with that plethora of either, I'm thinking of civil engineering specific type costing systems or different kind of formats out there. How do you deal with that plethora of standards?
Yeah, it's interesting for a start that there are so many there are so many standards, and we are actually all moving towards several key standards. So the ICMS piece of work, the ICMS was amazing. That was the first time we had a true international standard for construction, and we provide that with the good grace of those who own the standard. We provide that both in our estimating platform and in the benchmarking platform. So we immediately you can see that, but it actually is much more complex than that. So we have to provide EVM for earned value management to multiple standards. I mean, ANSI 748 is one of them. We have our own MOD standards here that are based on ANSI 748, but just slightly different. We have to meet all the recommended practices from the AACE. For example, 86R14, which is the variance analysis practice, we have to meet that practice. Well, obviously, here we've run into, in the infrastructure projects, we've run into PAS 2080 for carbon. Yeah. So we are compliant, completely compliant across the whole of our product suite is completely compliant with PAS 2080. And that only came about because we worked with the Environment Agency. And they helped us understand how that works and what that looks like. So thanks to them, we're there. We have to work to the PMI project management standards, the APM project management. I mean, we have SESM 4, we have RM 1 and 2, we have the highways method of measurement. So
yeah, exactly.
within our own tools, we've built multiple. You can actually map to multiple different ways of working, but lots of our clients will be delivering some highway stuff and some railway stuff and a bridge and maybe a piece of embanking wall. So yeah, we tend to end up with allowing them to have a complete mixture of things. It's a challenge. I'll be honest, it is a challenge which we have to keep on top of, but it's possible. It's not.
No, and as you know, sometimes those standards don't map one-to-one, don't they? They're still professional judgments sometimes in terms of how you're going to, correlate across the two. And so yeah, it's a challenge. You mentioned earlier about the whole kind of carbon side and earned carbon, earned value carbon. It's clearly an emerging topic, but how do you see that progressing over the next 5 years with your crystal ball on the table there?
I think carbon is a pressing matter for us. I did some presentations recently, and following on from the COP, we're now 100 seconds from midnight on the doomsday clock. Now, I don't know if the people watching this will understand what that means. It means that we are very close to being in a world that cannot be sustained. So, first thing is the sustainability stuff is more important than we realized. All of us, I'm talking about society in general, not ARES. So carbon was the first thing that we did. And again, that we've had such lovely support from the Environment Agency to get our head around what it is. But we've changed our products. We've got our products carbon ready, not at the cost of the EA, but our cost to get them carbon ready. But it's only the first thing. That's the first thing. We have to keep the environment heating, the global warming, underneath 1.7 degrees, I think it is. It was 2 degrees, it's now 1.7 degrees. Well, we're not going to do that with just carbon. We've got to completely rethink the way we measure. So we're looking at there's 22 UN sustainability challenges. Some of them are quantifiable, so we can put them into any system like Prism. Some are qualitative, like life and things. So we have to learn to monetize or to scalarize benefit, which we're starting to look at. I work with I'm very, very fortunate that ARES support me to be a visiting professor at the University of Bath. And these are the kind of things that the academics can do for us. They can look at different things. They can look at things that, your organization, my organization, we just don't have the bandwidth to do. We'd love to do it, let's be honest. we'd love to do it. But so the next 5 years is going to be critical. We are teaching at Bath our young people to think cost and carbon, not cost and then carbon, or carbon and then cost and carbon. So as we get them to generate estimates for a new capital project, at the same time they're using at the same time that they're doing the capital cost estimate based on resources, we are providing them a carbon estimate. Now we use the CESM 4 carbon for some of that, so it's home field for you guys. But all of our young people are now taught cost carbon, and eventually we'll extend that to cost carbon and other sustainability issues like water usage on site, things of that nature. It's got to happen. We haven't got 5 years. My message to people is, don't think about doing carbon. Start. Look at what you're doing. Start, fail fast. Start, get it wrong, fail fast. We are lucky. So ARES are lucky that our management, my management, were forward thinking to allow me a bit of free reign, and so we're ahead of the game. But everyone's got sites. It's not about Prism at this point. It's not about ARES. It's about, if you want your grandchildren or my grandchildren's children, my great grandchildren, to live in a world where they can enjoy the same lifestyle that we have, you've got to change now. So
as you say. I mean, hopefully a shorter term issue that's challenged us over the last couple of years in terms of the pandemic and COVID. How's that changed the way that you've had to work with clients, or the way, I guess, they've been forced to change work practices?
Yeah, that's been one of the best. Okay, so a lot of people had a terrible time in COVID. But the rate of change I saw our industry, the construction industry, go through, how quickly they were to adapt. Maybe they've had processes that were same for 100 years or whatever. How quickly they were able to adapt to safe working practices. I was very proud of being part of what we were, what we did. From our point of view, it was less challenging to us. We were always used to using remote